Good afternoon, good evening, good day, or whatever time of the day it is where you are. We are back at Pacific View Memorial Park, again back at Magnolia Court. We're going to look at three interesting people, and they're buried in crypts very close to my car. We're going to look at first the grave of Niles Welch. Born in 1888, died in 1976. He was an American performer on Broadway. He was a leading man in a number of silent and early motion talking films from about 1910 through the 1930s. He came from Hartford, Connecticut, is where he was born. And then he went to Yale, Columbia University. We're coming up on his crypt right here. He went to Yale, Columbia University, and that's him right there. He joined a troupe that was doing vaudeville throughout the U.S. After spending 4 years on the legitimate stage, this guy started his screen career appearing with World Film Corporation, Universal, Pathé Studios, Goldwyn Pictures. He did a number of silent and talking films. Beyond the 30s, it was actually beyond the 30s, it was mostly bit roles. His most important contribution was as an announcer for Columbia's American School of the Air on CBS Radio in 1939. The 30s was a huge time for radio. That was when you had the radio drama. Many radio programs, the family would gather around and listen to radio drama with the feeling that they were right there with the actors. But he was an announcer. He was fluent in French and German. So during World War II, he made foreign language broadcasts for the Voice of America. That was his contribution to the war effort. Later on, he came back home. Unfortunately, he had a very bad accident by accidentally hitting himself in the forehead with a door, and he lost sight in one eye and eventually became blind because his retinas detached. Poor guy. But he lived until 88 years old. That's his wife, Elaine, right with him. He died November 21st, 1976, at the age of 88. Now we're going to walk around in Magnolia Court and visit a Hollywood couple. I covered these two people before, but never posted them on YouTube. I'm talking about Robert Webb. That's him way up there with his wife, Barbara. Robert was born 1903. He died in 1990. After their career in Hollywood, they both moved over here to Balboa Island. He got his start basically as a helper. His brother Millard was already working in the film industry for setting up sets for the Rin Tin Tin films. And Robert got his interest in doing directing. So he was basically a gopher on the set, much like John Wayne was, the way John Wayne got his start. And then came to direct a number of very important films with some high important names like Victor Mature. He did Victor Mature in The Glory Brigade. Robert Webb directed that. He worked with Robert Wagner in the film Beneath the 12-Mile Reef. He did White Feather, 1955 film with Robert Wagner and Jeffrey Hunter. If you remember, I know Jeffrey Hunter. I remember him. Any Star Trek fans out there, he was in season 1, episode 1. He was Captain Christopher Pike. That was Jeffrey Hunter. Jeffrey Hunter did a film called King of Kings. He starred as Jesus himself. And Jeffrey Hunter, unfortunately, died from a tragic accident. But anyway, he worked with Jeffrey Hunter. Robert Webb also worked with Robert Ryan and Elvis Presley. He directed Elvis Presley's first film, Love Me Tender. His wife, Barbara, was a film editor. And like I say, they moved here in Newport Beach area, and here they are. All right, so now we're going to walk here away from that noisy fountain. We're going to go past the grave of Frida Pushnik. I did a video on Frida Pushnik a few weeks ago, and curiously enough, I only had 4 views. So if you're interested in seeing, you may want to look at Frida Pushnik, because I covered her life in detail in the other video. She died in Christmas Eve 2000. She had no arms, no legs, and she was a star on the Ripley circuit and on Barnum and Bailey. She's a very nice woman. Very nice woman. She's buried here with her mother. So yeah, check out that video of mine. Then we'll walk back around here, still in Magnolia Court. We're going to visit the crypt of Mary DeVithus. Her married name was Mary Marx. Do you know that name, Marx? Well, you ought to. And I'm not talking about Karl Marx, the writer of Das Kapital, not him. She was married to Chico Marx, one of the Marx brothers. Remember the Marx brothers? I have never seen a Marx Brothers movie, but in preparation for this, I watched a couple of their videos. Yeah, they were funny guys. Groucho, I guess, was the one who did a lot of the talking, but Chico, his legal name was Leonard, he was depicted as an Italian-speaking con artist and a womanizer, which actually he was in real life. He used to steal money and the property of others from family and from friends in real life. So he kind of designed his own on-screen character after that. Mary here was his second wife. He was originally married to, who was it? Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, he was married first to Betty Karp in 1917, but they divorced because of his infidelities. And then in 1958, he married Mary DeVithus. 3 years later, after his marriage to her, he died. And he's not here. Chico Marx is buried in Glendale at Forest Lawn Memorial. But Mary is right next to her sister, Josephine Herbert Gleiss. So I was wondering why, since Mary was Chico's wife upon Chico's death, why they're not buried together. It looks to me like these burial arrangements were made long before the marriage, so that's probably why. Chico died at the age of 74. Mary lived quite a bit longer than Chico did. And of course, if you remember last week's video, the tragic case of Linda Marie Brown, she's right nearby. And all these wonderful people are here at Magnolia Court. They were all famous. Linda Marie Brown, unfortunately, became famous because of a grave injustice that was done to her. The other people became famous because they were highly talented. But rest in peace to all of them.